Hello, I am Mac, at least for a day, and everything's going to be okay. I'm doing this video because my channel has recently reached a fairly big milestone. I've just gotten 4,000 subscribers. 4,000 of you have subscribed to watch my content on YouTube. Now, my plan for this video was to do a question and answer. I did a video asking for people to ask questions. Not very many people asked questions, but I will be answering what questions I did get later on in the video. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and also thank you for being the only friends that I have. I know that sounds disingenuous maybe, but it's true. I don't have any friends in real life. I have coworkers, but I wouldn't really call any of them a close friend. Um, I'm a very introverted person, if you can't already tell. And the way introverted and extroverted works, it's not that you don't want to spend time around people. Extroverted means that you get more energy from being around others. Like you feel energized and excited, uh, and you feel less energized when you're alone. An introverted person, they get their energy when they're alone. And when I'm really stressed and tired, I have to be alone in order to re-energize. But when I'm around other people, it's more stressful. It's all brain chemistry. So an introverted person, social social interactions, social situations are much more stressful. And it's not that I don't want to have friends. I want to have friends, but pretty much through my whole life I've never really had friends in real life. I mean, in my past, I have had a few people um, that I knew face to face that I was kind of friends with, but never really anyone that was really close. It wasn't until I got big into online interaction that I started to get really close friends. Um, Currently, all my friends are my viewers and um, my other people that I've met because of No Man's Sky. I've had friends in the past because of other video games. I've played MMOs and stuff, but I've pretty much lost contact with all of them. So now all of my friends are the people I know because of No Man's Sky and my viewers on YouTube. So my interactions with all of you through comments and other social media, my Twitter and all that, that is my main social interaction, my main friendships. Um, like I said, I've tried having I've hung out with people that I wanted to be friends with, and it was just it was very uncomfortable for me. I was always it was just so stressful on my body, and people could tell that I was uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, they feel uncomfortable. They don't want to be your friend. They don't want to hang out with you because you're not fun. So I've really struggled throughout my life, and now more than ever, I'm a pretty lonely person. I Being an introvert, you can deal with loneliness a bit better because you enjoy being alone, but that doesn't mean you want to be alone all the time. Um, but yeah, I've lost most of my family. Most of the people, most of my close family members that I knew have either passed away or have moved far away. As you may know, if you've been on my channel for a while, my mother passed away 2 years ago. I don't want this whole video to be a downer, but I just want you to kind of understand. I'm kind of opening up, telling about myself, which is what I thought my Q&A was going to be, but not much of any people um, asked about my personal life or anything, so you're getting it anyway. So yeah, I've lost my mother. My father lives far away. My older brother lives far away. My younger sister, who's married and has kids, my nephews and nieces, I have some videos in my vlog playlist that show them if you want to see what they're like. She's pretty much my only family member that lives close to me that I have much contact with anymore. So yeah, I don't have hardly any family, and I have no friends in real life. So this community, my channel, and my other friends that I have through online, through PlayStation, PSN, and everything, is my social net, my friend group. So I want all of you to understand that you are my friends. I know that sounds bad. Like, YouTubers are always saying, "Oh, you guys are my friends," and all this stuff, but really, I've come to know a lot of you. I recognize your names when you comment on my videos. So to me, I have that familiarity that a lot of you are my friends. Um, and it's just like, oh, good. I'm glad that he commented. He always says nice things on my videos and all that. So you really are all my friends, and thank you for being the only friends I have. If it weren't for No Man's Sky, I mean, I probably would have played some other game that I would have had friends through, but I don't know how that would be now. I don't know where I would be if I hadn't discovered No Man's Sky and became a part of this big community and gotten all my friends this way. So I really appreciate to everybody who watches and comments and who are my friends. Okay, so let's move on from that. I'm going to answer the few questions that I got on my video asking for questions. Dark by Design, he comments a lot on my channel, so I appreciate him saying something. He just said, good luck on the 4K, and I reached it. I reached 4,000, so thank you for wishing me luck on that. Baltimore Actual, he's a really nice guy that commented on that video. He asked, Spacing Guild 2.0 question mark. So let me tell you about the Spacing Guild. I've answered this question, I think, in some live streams, but I guess it'd be good to tell the story now. So yeah, the Spacing Guild was a really good group for a long time. Pretty much about 2 years. The Spacing Guild went strong for about 2 years. I formed it soon after the Pathfinder update. And so we went for a little under 2 years. And then things got really good at the Atlas Rises update. So the Spacing Guild, if you don't know, the Spacing Guild was my group that I founded. It was a No Man's Sky guild group kind of thing. There's lots of guilds through like Reddit and stuff. Like the Galactic Hub and the Portal Seekers and all those people. So I formed my own kind of No Man's Sky guild. And our mission as the Spacing Guild was to help connect the community more. Back then, we didn't have multiplayer, so the only thing that we had was in the Pathfinder update, they had added the ability to see other people's bases. And that was really the most concrete. The closest thing to multiplayer we had back then was being able to see other people's bases. We couldn't see other players, and they had added message modules in that update, I believe. Maybe. Or maybe it was Foundation update, they added message modules. But it was the first time that, we could see other people's bases, and then we could leave them message modules. So we could kind of communicate in-game for the first time. So the Spacing Guild's mission then became to visit bases of people that requested that we visit them. So that's what we did for like that first year, was visit other people's bases and leave message modules letting them know that others are out there and that there is a community, And then when the Atlas Rises update happened, we got the Orb multiplayer. And in my opinion, that was the best period of multiplayer in No Man's Sky. People will disagree with me now because we have all kinds of other multiplayer now. But I always felt that the Orb multiplayer was all that No Man's Sky needed. We just needed the ability to explore together. So that was pretty much all that you could do. You couldn't kill other creatures. You couldn't fight together because basically you were kind of seeing into another dimension. You were seeing the person's position in another dimension, and you couldn't see the result of anything that they did. So all you could do was see their position and also talk to them through voice chat. I believe we had in-game voice chat then. Maybe. I think we did. If not, we could just use the PlayStation Party chat and such. But I think there was voice chat. There was voice chat and the orbs, and that really worked out well, especially since you could have up to 16 orbs, and that was when we had the really good Spacing Guild parties where we had up to 16 people all on a planet together, exploring together, and that was really fun. So that was really the best period of the Spacing Guild. Then when things went bad was when we got full multiplayer. In the next update, we became able to see other people's um, character models, but this ruined it for the Spacing Guild for several reasons. One, it messed up the parties because you could only have up to 4 people in a group for and see each other's character models. So it kind of ruined the orb multiplayer. The only way we could have up to 16 people then on PlayStation was if nobody got in a party together. And everybody wanted to use that to meet up. Because before, the only way we could all meet up was by all going through a portal. But it was much more convenient for people to group up by just jumping into your game. But when you jump into someone's game, it limits it to 4 people. So then we couldn't have the big 16-person Spacing Guild parties anymore because the whole group would be split up. There'd be like several groups of 4 that were in separate dimensions, basically, that couldn't see the rest of the people. So, yeah. So the parties were ruined because of that type of multiplayer. And then the griefing. So we had a huge falling out in the Spacing Guild. Um, there was kind of two camps of players in the Spacing Guild who never really wanted multiplayer, and then people who were really excited about multiplayer. So when the people who liked multiplayer started invading the games of the people that didn't want multiplayer, they began to perceive it as griefing. And some people did some things in the group that kind of was griefing, like they would edit terrain near their base. And I think we always had the ability to stop people from building at our base, but there wasn't any way to stop people from terrain manipulating around the base. And also PvP. Yeah, when Next first came out, you could shoot and harm another player whenever you want, and there was no way to stop it. Thankfully, after several months, they added the ability to turn off PvP, to turn off the ability to hurt other people in your game. But for a long time, there was no way to stop that griefing. All you could really do is just turn off multiplayer and just have no multiplayer. Because if you had multiplayer on, people could come in and shoot at you and try to kill you and stuff. And so that and the terrain manipulating, there was a lot of griefing that went on between Spacing Guild members. And by then, we were a pretty large group, and it was a nightmare for me. I am not the kind of person that wants to try to mediate between that. People from the don't like multiplayer camp were trying to get me to kick people from the multiplayer camp who were griefing according to them. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be a person deciding that people should be booted or having voting within the Spacing Guild to decide when someone should be booted from the guild and so on and so forth. So I just told them I wasn't going to add any more members to the guild, and I wasn't going to mediate anything, and some people left in anger because I wasn't going to do anything to stop it. And yeah, it all kind of fell apart. There's still about 30 members in the message group for the Spacing Guild, and we're cordial to each other now, but we don't really do anything anymore. So yeah, the next update kind of destroyed the Spacing Guild because of that, even though they finally added ways to prevent PvP and multiplayer, and I believe you can even prevent people from terrain manipulating around your base. But regardless, I kind of decided that it was the natural time for the Spacing Guild to end anyway, because, like I said, our original mission was to connect the community together more, visit each other's bases, leave communication stations and stuff like that. So we were kind of a stopgap multiplayer thing, connecting the community back when multiplayer wasn't a real thing. It wasn't as completed as now. But then when they created true multiplayer in Next, that was kind of the time for the Spacing Guild to retire. It messed things up for us, but it was also kind of the natural end of the Spacing Guild, that we weren't needed to connect the community anymore because the community had all of the tools it needed to have true multiplayer anyway. So yeah, so about Spacing Guild 2.0, I don't think I really want to do another one. Um, yeah, for those reasons, that was a really stressful and bad time for me. I don't like it when my groups of friends break up and start getting mad at each other and everything. So I don't really want to go through that again. So that's why that is. And I'm still friends with a lot of the people from the Spacing Guild, including ones that left the Spacing Guild or were forced out. Some people left because people were being mean to them in the Spacing Guild. I don't want to go through anything like that again. So that's what happened to the Spacing Guild. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. It was just the natural time for the Spacing Guild to end. And so, yeah, there's probably not going to be another Spacing Guild. Unless I ever come up with a new mission that I want a large group to do. Because our original mission is no longer needed. I would have to think of a new thing that I would want the Spacing Guild to focus on besides multiplayer. It would be something else. I don't know. But, oh well. Anyway, that's it for that. All right, and then Franco's Monies asked me, are you going to play Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne Remaster when it releases? So thank you, Franco's Monies, for that question. Okay, so I know very little about Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, but I know the basics of it. Basically, it's a JRPG. It's a Japanese role-playing game series. And I believe the Persona series is like a spin-off of it, or like it's in the same universe. But I think Shin Megami, I'm not going to keep reading that name. I'm just going to call it Shin Megami. Shin Megami is like the original. It's the original series. And then Persona and I think some other JRPG series were spin-offs of it. Persona is a lot more popular in America. Yeah, I don't know a lot about it, so I don't really want to speak on it too much. But my answer is probably not. I used to be a real big JRPG fan. In fact, the first MMO I ever played was Final Fantasy XI. And I played a lot of JRPGs a long time ago. I don't really play JRPGs much anymore. I don't know. I think I got burnt out on them. My favorite game of all time is Golden Sun, which is a JRPG from the Game Boy days. But yeah, I'm not really into JRPGs anymore. It sounds interesting, but I haven't even played Persona or anything. So yeah, probably not. And there's a lot of other games I want to play, including games that are coming up that I want to play on my channel. I think I've kind of become more of a fan of open world survival games. No Man's Sky was kind of my first game in that genre, and I think I'm finding that that's the kind of game I like the most now, at least currently. And also Windbound. That's a new game that I have played on my channel and probably will some more. So yeah, I've seemed to really enjoy open world survival now. So that's probably the kind of game I'm going to play, and I'll probably make that the focus of the games I play on my channel, because I think people that like No Man's Sky also like to see other open world survival games. In fact, why don't I go ahead and tell you my list of games that I plan to get when they come out and play on my channel. Um, okay, here we go. So, I had this list that I made a few weeks ago of games that are coming up that I want to play. Um, I've already checked off Windbound and The Last Campfire because I know those were coming out. Last Campfire is an open world survival, but it's a Hello Games game, so of course I had to play that. Um, yeah, big game that's coming out that I'm really excited about because it looks really good is The Eternal Cylinder. It's a game that, well, it's a lot like No Man's Sky. It looks very much like No Man's Sky. It looks like it's a open world survival game, except you play as a weird creature. So instead of being an astronaut, you play as one of the weird creatures on a planet that looks a lot like a bizarre No Man's Sky planet. The big thing about it, the reason it's called the Eternal Cylinder, is because on that alien planet there's this giant cylinder. It's basically a giant steamroller that's constantly rolling across the land and destroying everything. So that, I think, is basically the driving force for the game, because you basically have to be constantly on the move. So you're this little creature on the planet, and I think there's some kind of system where you either control or befriend other creatures. So you end up becoming a large group of creatures that are traveling, migrating basically across this alien planet, trying to avoid being smashed by the giant cylinder. So it looks very interesting. I kind of don't like the idea of basically a time limit. I don't like games that have time limits, and the cylinder is basically a time limit because you're constantly having to avoid it. You can't stay in any area for very long because you have to run from being crushed. But every game has something that drives you forward, makes you continue to play, or makes you move in a certain direction or whatever. For No Man's Sky, it's the center of the universe. That's just a direction for us to travel in. So I guess the cylinder is kind of just the main gameplay driver that you have to constantly be moving to avoid it. But yeah, that's the Eternal Cylinder. Check that out. It's got really cool looking trailer. Wild is another open world survival game that you play as, I guess you play as, in the video there's like a caveman, a cave woman, and there's like some animals with them, and there's also a living skeleton with them, which is weird. I guess maybe there's some shaman magic in it or something, but it's an open world survival game and it looks pretty cool. So yeah, that's Wild. And then the Survivalists is, it's this, I think it's made by the same people as the Escapists. So if you know that, Escapists is where you try to escape a jail, and then the Survivalist is, it's kind of the same graphics with the little bitty people in a world, and you help have, like, I guess you maybe command them. I think it's kind of a real-time strategy where you command them to build shelters and hunt and so on. So that looks pretty fun. So I might get that one and play that. Then another one, which I'm not sure I'll get, is called Away the Survival Series. This one you play as kind of a flying squirrel, and it's kind of made like a documentary. It's kind of a realistic game. It's kind of like, there was another game called Human. Oh, I forget what it was called, but it was about human evolution where you play as an early primate. Primate, yeah, an early primate. Almost said Primeape, the Pokemon. You play as an early primate as you survive and eventually become a human. This is, I think, in present day, or maybe not. I don't know. But basically, it looks a lot like a documentary. It's kind of realistic wildlife survival. You play as like a flying squirrel. I'm not sure if I'm too into it. I kind of prefer more of a fantasy or something. I don't know. I might not play that one, but we'll see. And then previously known as Gods and Monsters, but it got renamed. It's now called Immortals Fenyx Rising. And Phoenix is a weird spelling. It's a game. It's a game by Ubisoft, although I think Wild is by Ubisoft too. I mean, I'm no longer limiting myself to indie games anyway. I used to say that I was an indie game channel, but I now I say I'm an innovative game channel. So if a game looks innovative to me, and like I said, I'm kind of kind of leaning towards open world survival games, I'll play it on my channel at least for a while to see if people like it. But yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising it's another game that is visually and I think gameplay wise similar to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. People have compared it to it anyway. It looks a lot like that style of graphics, but this is set in like an ancient Greek mythology setting. So I think you play as some kind of demigod, and you fight, ancient Greek monsters and stuff. But it looks a lot like Breath of the Wild. I don't know if it has survival mechanics like Breath of the Wild. Um, but yeah, that's what that's like. So I think the one that comes out the soonest is the Survivalists, which comes out October 6th. So that I may be getting in a few days. We'll see. And then Immortals Phoenix Rising comes out in December, so that'll be a little while. And the others I don't think have announced release dates. So someday I may be playing those on my channel. But that was a very long answer for someone asking if I'm gonna play Shin Megami, but so no, I'm probably not gonna play any. If I do get any JRPGs, I'm not gonna play them on my channel. I might get it for fun, but I wouldn't play it on my channel probably. But anyway, that does it for the questions. There was only about 3 questions. But yeah, so I think that about does it. Thank you all for 4,000 for the 4,000 subscribers. It's hard to believe 4,000 people actually want to hear me ramble. So it's the thing about me. I'm fairly good at rambling, even though I'm not a very social person. I can get to talking about stuff that interests me. But yeah, so thank you all for subscribing. Thank you for 4,000 subscribers, and I will continue to make videos on No Man's Sky and other open world survival games and innovative games for the foreseeable future. So thank you to all who have joined me, and I have been Mac. Thank you for joining me for these past 4 years. It's almost 4 years now. And remember, everything's going to be okay.